There's a question on the chat asking if it's going to be monitored as well.
Excuse me?
There's a question on the chat asking if it's going to be monitored as well.
There is. So some of my colleagues will be moderating the chat box. So they'll bring it to my attention if there's a question in there that may not have been reached. So we do have a few folks in there that are dedicated to help support through the chat box. So thank you. Okay, so let's get started. It is 6:03 p.m. Eastern. So I wanted to thank everybody here for coming tonight for the Military Employer Spotlight with the FBI. And again, folks, my name is Jim Lindsay. I'm the Military Employee Relations Partner here at Southern New Hampshire University. I'm very excited for all of you to hear from our special guests that are here tonight. But before we get there, a couple things I need to go through. And so access and accommodations here are important to us here at Southern New Hampshire University. Your experience at SNHU is important to us. It is our policy and practice to create an inclusive and accessible learning environment. If there are aspects of this presentation's design or delivery that present barriers to accessibility, please notify the following. For online students, please reach out to the Online Accessibility Center by emailing oac@snhu.edu or by phone at 866-305-9430. If we have any campus students here, you can reach out to the Campus Accessibility Center by emailing cac@snhu or cac@snhu.edu or by phone at 603-644-3118. And any Southern New Hampshire University staff or faculty, you can reach out to the Human Resources Office by emailing hr@snhu.edu. So I'm not sure if I've got the right photographs up. I saw this was Karen's presentation. I stole her image off of LinkedIn, so we'll get to there. And I apologize up front, Lance. I couldn't see your picture, and I apologize for your colleague there because I'm not sure I was able to get hers. So, but before we get rolling there, I want to have my colleagues introduce themselves. Like I mentioned, we've got a team here at Southern New Hampshire University dedicated to helping support our military affiliated students. There are 9 of them. So at this point, I'm going to throw it over. I always start on my bottom left, and tonight that is Dr. Crook. So Toria Lynn, go right ahead.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Dr. Toria Lynn Draper Crook, and I am a career advisor here at SNHU. I support the military affiliated learners and alumni, as well as other students in other verticals as well. I'm also a military spouse of an Air Force veteran, and I am located in the Southeast region of the United States. So very happy to have you all here with us.
All right, I guess I'll throw the baton for you. I see Jen, you're there. You want to go right ahead?
Hi, Jim. Sure. Thank you. Hi, everybody. My name is Jennifer Marin, and I am also a military career advisor here at SNU. I work with students in social sciences, and criminal justice falls under that umbrella. And I live in New Hampshire, so it's been cold here for the last couple of weeks. But thank you for being here. We're excited for the presentation, and I can pass the baton if you want, Jim, to Chapa. I see he's here.
There we go. Good job.
Hey everyone, how's it going?
There he is.
Yeah, my name's Alex. I'm a career advisor here on the military career advising team. Been here about 7 years, and working mostly with our STEM students and some healthcare. But I've been looking forward to this meeting. Want to hear about pathways into the FBI. I know there's a lot of different types of roles, and yeah, excited to be here. And I'm going to share information with students of mine that are not here when I talk to them. So. Let me see.
I think Mr. Stovall is here.
Okay. There you go. Oh yeah, Mr. Stovall.
Yeah. Yes. Hello, everyone. My name is Sean Stovall. I'm a career advisor here at SNHU. I've been here for about 3 months. I'm a veteran of the United States Army, and I work with students, military students, who are a part of the business vertical here at SNHU, and I look forward to working with you.
I think, is there anybody else here? We've got a good list over here of individuals. So If there's anybody else here from the career team, feel free to come on, jump on in and introduce yourself. I hate to miss somebody. I think I got everybody. So, all right. So at this point in time, and I apologize up front, it looks like I'm missing some photographs, and I may have the wrong individuals listed on the sheet here. So we do have our special guest here from the FBI. And at this point, Vance, I'm going to throw it on over to you to introduce yourself and then your colleague, and then we'll get started.
Perfect. I mean, I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna complain. I don't think I've ever looked better than that. So I think this is definitely a win for me. I'm moving in the right direction. So real quick, I'm Supervisor Administrative Specialist Vance Crumlick. I'm responsible for the Human Resources Division here in the Boston field office, as well as our 24/7 Operations Center. So, and what that is basically is if you were to Google FBI Boston because you wanted to call and report a potential crime that you felt that you've been witnessed, or you were a victim of a crime, you would speak to one of my people, and they would help to kind of direct you and make sure that you got to the right people. Before I jump into the PowerPoint, which I will go through, I'm going to have my administrative officer, Denise, just go ahead and kind of introduce herself. And then I think if you want to give a little spiel about kind of how you got here, and then I'll jump into the PowerPoint.
All right, sounds good. Good evening, everyone. My name is Denise Taste, and I am the administrative officer here at the Boston field office. And that role means that I am responsible for all administrative functions, which is a pretty big branch. It's over 200 and something employees. And one of those units is this unit, the Human Resource Unit. I am a little different because come this June, I celebrate 38 years in the FBI. And I started back when you could be recruited out of high school. Well, of course, we no longer do that anymore, but I have seen the FBI evolve over the years. I'm excited that you're excited to learn about our organization because, trust me, it is a very fascinating organization, and there is just so many avenues to which you could come into our organization, whether it's professional support or whether you desire to take the agent track eventually. One of my employees, who is a counterpart of Vance's, she is currently a reservist in the Army, and hopefully she will be able to tap in soon, but that way she can give you her experience as far as coming in after doing active service. So if you have any questions, definitely I'm here, and I will turn it back over to Vance.
Thank you. So I think the biggest takeaway right off of, yes, I got a question already. Is the FBI on the GS pay scale?
Yes.
Yes, we are,
Yes.
100%. So very easy if you're interested in a position with the Bureau. All of our jobs are posted on fbijobs.gov. Very easy to go on there and see what we are currently hiring for. And when you go on there, you're going to see a GS pay scale listed for every position. Now, it does vary by location. There is a locality pay that can range anywhere from, I think the low end is 15%,
Yes.
all the way up to just a hair over 30% now. And when you go on to, if you go on in Google GSA, GS pay scale, it'll come up and it'll show you for all of the different locations across the US.
And thank you all for the shout outs. Yes, as Vance will tell you, with all the different career paths that people take and the attrition, it's going to be rare to see anyone serve 30 plus years anymore on the professional support side. But it's been a great experience, and thank you all very much for the kudos.
Vance,
Yeah,
are you able to advance slides, Vance? You want to just practice that and see, or you can just give me a...
let's see.
Okay.
Yep, looks like I can.
You want me to-
well, I don't think it moved for the rest of us, so I'll just give me a
Did that not do it?
next slide when you want when you would like to do that.
Okay, that we can do. Let's see, a couple of questions that came up is that, yeah, so when you look at if you Google GS pay scales, when you pull it up, it's by locale. So if you looked at Boston, it'll actually show you what the salary is per grade and step, and that number is including the locality bump.
And you can also go to opm.gov that has the current 2024 cost of living out there. So I know there's a question about a GS-13 step 8 on the United States scale. It would be able to tell you because it's under Boston, so you would know exactly. But yeah, we're right over 30% right now with locality.
In terms of, I see a question about potential work remote for the FBI. That's something, and I can cover that more in depth if needed. But generally speaking, there's not a huge remote or a telework option for the FBI. So one of the things you have to understand is that everyone that's employed by the FBI, everybody from our honors college interns all the way up to the Director Ray, the director of the FBI, we all have the same security clearance, right? And that's because the bulk of what we do is sensitive and classified in nature. So that's really just not work that you're able to do from a remote location or to do via telework. There's just not enough that exists in terms of like unclassified work that it's really a viable option at this point in time.
And Ms. Jessica, if you want a career with intelligence, we do have several positions that are on the intelligence side. And no, you do not have to go through field agent training. That would be only if you were applying for a special agent position. But we have what's called intelligence analyst. We also have staff operations specialist as well, which is the entry level to the IA position. But you do not have to go through field agent training for that.
And I think one of the biggest things to piggyback right off of that is just to make you all aware that it's important to think of the FBI not just as the people that you're seeing in the pictures on the screen on this slide right now. It's not, the FBI is composed of far more than just the agent population, right? If you think of us, think of it more like a private corporation. Where we have a facilities department, we have a human resources department, we have an IT department, we have an automotive department, an electronics shop. So it's a lot more to the organization than just the field agents that are out with a badge and a gun taking down bad guys. So if that's your desire and your goal, then absolutely we can help to kind of put you on that path and try to make that a reality. But if you want to be someone that is working for a government agency and serving your country and helping to push the mission along, but you're not looking to be out in the field, there are roles for that as well. And there's a litany of positions that are available. In terms of assuming it's related to secret clearance, yes, all of our employees have to have be able to obtain a top secret clearance.
Ernesto Vance would be the person that you would reach out for the support role. So he'll definitely have his information at the end of this session.
Yep, I will provide a direct email address, and so there are a handful of support positions that we're always looking to hire for within the Boston field office. And for that, it's as simple as kind of reaching out and sending us an updated copy of your resume, and then we kind of go from there. In terms of resume tools or tips, you are 100% correct. The federal resume is very different than a private sector resume. The private sector resume, you're handing over a little one-pager, and then you're sitting down with someone and you're having an interview where they're going to run through and ask you questions based off of your resume, right? For us in the bureau, it's your resume is that initial kind of interview. So everything that you've done, all the work experience that you've had, everything that makes you needs to be represented on that resume, because that's going to be our initial introduction to you. So what I tell people is that it's very much in line and very much a part of the norm for us to get resumes that range from 3 to 5 pages.
Yes.
The detail really needs to be in there. And we're looking for really examples. If you have examples where you've shown leadership and initiative, anything that would align with our core values, you want to make sure that those are represented, in your resume, and you really kind of drive that home. But the other thing too, is a jumping off point. If you Google the federal resume template, it's also listed on. It's one of the items you can click on FBIjobs.gov, but it'll be able to at least give you a template and a jumping off point to start from.
And also, and just to piggyback off that, also reach out to our career advising team here at Southern New Hampshire University. They're very familiar with helping and assisting in putting together those federal resumes as well as those for the civilian workforce. But yeah, definitely reach out. It's a whole nother animal when putting one of those together. But yeah.
Absolutely. No, definitely not like not like the TV show,
No.
unfortunately.
It's even better
It's even better.
because it's real.
I often tell people a quick little anecdote. Starting in the bureau, I had been at the time, not to age myself, but White Collar was like the popular show on TV from an FBI standpoint. And in the show, they're located in New York City, and they have this big, beautiful office and all this super high tech stuff. And I started with the bureau, and a couple of weeks in, my wife wanted to come in and get a tour of the building. And I remember bringing her in and just showing her around, and she was like, "This is the FBI? Like, this is just a bunch of people that are working hard. Like, where's the fancy, office spaces?" And so definitely does not quite line up with the TV shows, but the mission is still the same. So that, that's a win.
But to give you a tidbit, those shows, we do have representatives from our media department from headquarters that actually consult just to make sure that it has the validity if they're going to be using the FBI name. So we're involved to a degree.
In terms of JDAs, joint duty assignments, so we have a lot of our folks that get tasked on JDAs where they go to other agencies, but we don't necessarily host a ton of them. The ones that we do are going to be primarily in Washington field office or headquarters. Is there a contact for? Yep. So for every division or every field office is going to have their own point of contact over human resources. However, you're speaking to me now, so if you want to reach out and provide your info to me, I'm more than happy to push your information and resume onto the appropriate contacts. In terms of joining from another government agency like TSA, we actually have quite a few folks in the Boston office, I think because of our proximity to Logan Airport, that have come from TSA. As a matter of fact, one of the most senior person that I have in my human resources unit right now was a TSA snag. So we've gotten some really, really fantastic folks from there. So it's a pretty straightforward process. The biggest thing is you're still going through the same background process. That's going to be regardless of where you're coming from. Ever since the Snowden incident, there's no passing of clearances anymore. So regardless of if you have a clearance with the military, you have a clearance with another government agency, you're still going to have to go through our background process and start at step 0 with that.
DLA.
Looking to see more for veterans. So in terms of a re-enlistment code, the only requirement we have is it just has to be it does have to be an honorable discharge. That's the only requirement that they'll put on that in terms of pushing your application through headquarters. Holding a boarding officer qual. So not an expert with the U.S. Coast Guard lingo. Can we specify as to what a boarding officer qual is? I'm not quite sure what that is. Sorry.
Yeah, Hayden, feel free to come off mute.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Basically, just a boarding officer qual is just a federal. It just gives me like authority as a federal officer to board vessels and stuff like that.
Oh, absolutely. Yep. So anything like that is going to reflect in a positive manner on you throughout the application process. But obviously just not a requirement, but it's another feather in your hat and another thing that's going to make you stand out from the general applicant pool. So definitely something you'd want to include on your resume.
Okay, awesome. And then I have one more question just real quick while I'm already on here.
Sure.
Does being at like a TACLET, which is basically just like a very heavy like law enforcement unit or anything like that, would that be something that would be good to put in my resume?
Absolutely. 100%. Because that's going to show that in some, way, shape, or form, you're already interacting with members of the law enforcement community and acting in that type of a role. So that's just going to be another positive for you. There's no negative there at all.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Yep.
It's moving so fast.
No, absolutely.
Right there at the credit.
Okay, so in terms of how much weight does your credit score, that's definitely going to play a factor.
Mhm.
What they're generally more concerned about when they look at the background process, I feel like I should just stop and caveat that real quick. So if you apply for a position with the FBI, you get called in, you sit in front of a career board, you're interviewed and offered a conditional job offer. Upon acceptance of that conditional job offer, that kicks off your background process, right? The first stage of your background process is going to be filling out an SF-86, which I'm going to go on a limb and say a lot of you have already done. That's going to cover you back to either your 18th birthday forward, or the last 10 years of your life. And it's pretty all encompassing. It goes into just about every aspect of your life. Once you complete that, you're going to come into the office and have a security interview with one of our folks, and they're going to sit down with you and just go over that SF-86 and just make sure that it's complete in its entirety, that all of the pertinent info is there, and that you're going to be squared away. Once you complete that security interview, the next phase is going to be the polygraph. Your polygraph examination, they're going to basically touch on multiple different facets to include that application process. Once you successfully complete the polygraph, that's when the knocking on doors phase of the background, as I like to call it, starts. That's when the investigators will go out and talk to your family, your friends of your friends, co-workers, supervisors, professors, guidance counselors, and really try to gain a holistic picture of who you are and whether or not you're someone that is worthy of obtaining a security clearance, someone that we can bring in and trust to be exposed to the info that you're going to be exposed here. So part of that is absolutely going to be a review of your financial situation. But I want to stress that it's not a matter of, okay, you must have a 750 credit score to come on board with the FBI. We don't function that way. What we're more looking for is potential for vulnerability, right? So it's really more looking at, extreme amounts of debt. Things that could make you a potential risk factor from a foreign actor or foreign influence. So that's really more of a concern. Just speaking candidly for my own experience, when I applied to the Bureau, was fresh out of college and had made some less than wise financial choices through my 5 or 6 years at UMass Lowell. So, my credit score was definitely not, at the top notch when I applied. And that was not an issue because, they went through and said, okay, this is kind of where you're at. And the biggest thing is that I was forthright and candid with the information. And that's really the most important part of going through the background is they want you to be just as candid as you can. And, if you made a mistake or you wavered off the path a little, or some things that, maybe weren't a little questionable, it's just about coming forward and owning it. And that's going to be the most successful way to kind of see you through that process.
And if I can add, Mr. Allen, also, once you get on board, they do background every 5 years. We're going on getting reinvestigated because of vulnerabilities, right? Anything could happen in between the time that you're hired until you get that next polygraph that we get every 5. So we have employees that are, like Vance said, sometimes you make some choices in life. But one thing about the FBI, will work with you as long as you're forthcoming with everything, even being employed here. There's definitely programs to help employees, because if you're a great employee, they don't want to just let you go. But again, with everything that's gone on over since 9/11, we definitely have to be careful in the hiring process.
100%. In terms to reference to a duty station, this is a nice easy one. So new agents and new intel analysts. What happens is you go to Quantico for training, and at the end of training, you will rank offices in terms of which ones are most appealing to you. You'll rank them from 1 to 56. And then you are placed based on the needs of the Bureau. So as a new agent or a new intel analyst, you really don't have a lot of say in where you go. You can hope that you'll get one of your top 4 or 5 offices, but you know, we have to staff offices all across the country, so there is a good chance that you're going to end up somewhere that you may not be at the top of your list. That is, excuse me, one of the draws to the support side of the house. With support employees, you are in complete control of where you're assigned. You know, we can't mandate that a support employee, you know, transfer across the country. It doesn't work that way. So that is one of the draws that some folks have towards the support side. If you're in a certain area and you're settled down and, you know, family and you have reasons for wanting to stay there, then that's something that you're able to control on that side of the house. With the agent and intel, a little bit less so.
But I will say that over the years, they're starting to get lax with that because, again, I've been in a long time. Originally, 30 years back, you never came back to the office you processed out of, and it took you almost till retirement to get back. And you had to experience a small, a medium, and a large office. Well, they got rid of that some years back. And there are circumstances where an agent or an intel person could come back to their processing station if there's a spouse that may own a company, like is a dentist or a doctor, where they can't just up and leave their practice. So the Bureau will be lenient, but it depends on the circumstance around that.
100%. And I'm going to loop that into the location assignments. Here, can you apply to a specific field office? You can absolutely apply to a specific field office if you're applying on the support side of the house. Like I said, if you're going for the intel analyst or the special agent, a little bit less so. Would I be able to work for the FBI and be in the reserves? I'm hoping to tap. Oh, did she go away? Nicole Lyon, are you still on the call?
I am here.
Do you want to speak to that one? Well, first you want to introduce yourself and then speak to being able to be in the FBI and in the reserves.
Yeah, sure. I don't know. Can you see me? Because I don't think okay, perfect. Awesome. So yeah, I'm Nicole Lyon. I've been in the reserves now. Actually, this month I just hit 20 years. Yay. But I joined the Bureau back in 2015. So in the Army Reserves, I'm an automated logistical specialist. So I deal with a lot of logistics, mission planning, a lot of the behind the scenes management. So when I first came to the Bureau, I actually applied for a position to be an office services supervisor. So I oversaw a few programs, oversaw evidence, supply, mail, and also just some of the entry-level employees that came in through the door. So right off the bat, I was managing programs, supervising other employees, and I learned that a lot of the attributes of the military, such as leadership, logistics, project planning, all of those items, they really coincided with the FBI. And I really love how the FBI structure also is just like almost as the same as the military. So as in the military, we have our platoons and squads. We're kind of set up like the same type of way. So I jumped right in, fit right in. It didn't take me too long to learn the FBI lingo, just like the military. We have our acronyms, but the FBI has our acronyms too. So it was a real comfortable fit, and the transition in was really easy. So it wasn't too overbearing. And so, yeah, now I'm a supervisory administrative specialist. So I oversee pretty much the facilities programs here, covering just the 4 New England states. And I love it. Fantastic. And it's really cool that I get to use my military leadership and skills on the FBI government side.
Nicole, do me a favor. Can you explain to them the Bureau's military program and how it supports you going to training and everything of that nature?
Sure. So in the Army Reserves, as if some of you are in the reserves in general, you know, I have my yearly annual trainings, additional duty trainings, and my monthly drills. So when military duty comes up, I give them a copy of my orders and I go on to duty. When I'm away, there's someone acting in my stead. So when I come back, I fit right back into my position and just continue on. I have been deployed as well while I've been employed with the Bureau. So a little bit different as far as, just submitting a lot of documentation and just making sure my benefits and all of that are still flowing. But I did a 18-month deployment. And again, someone filled in my position. And when I came back, I just filtered right back in. A lot of the times when I left and when I came back in, I came right back into the same like grade level position. I got my promotions while I was away. Nothing changed as far as anything administratively. And then when I came back in, I had to just do a little bit of retraining in my position just to catch me back up. But for the most part, pretty flawless, especially because we have really great leadership and really great supervisors that supported me, helped me with the transitions, both on the front end and the back end coming home. So, just definitely have to keep up with my military duty until I'm fully retired. And the FBI supports it. And actually, the Department of Justice is the one that actually came out with the employer support of the Guard and Reserves. So if there were any issues, I have that on my side. I can always, I know the point of contact. I can always reach out to them if I had any issues. But yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So all right, next question up here. Yes, the criminal minds that want to be a profiler and work at BAU. That show did wonders for the behavioral analysis unit, because I don't think that anybody wanted to be a profiler until that show came out, and now everybody wants to be a profiler. What I tell people is that if that is your life goal, it is important to note that the Bureau only has a handful of folks that are actually assigned to the BAU. It is a very small, tight-knit unit. It is highly desirable. Even here amongst FBI employees, everybody wants to go to BAU. However, there is 100% opportunity for folks to utilize training that they would receive and skills that would be commensurate with the experiences they would gain at BAU in the field office, because even though that's a very special and highly trained section of profilers, we use profiling to some extent even in the local field office. So getting to BAU can be a little bit tough. However, having a job where you're doing that type of work in the field is 100% a possibility. In terms of the FBI having any OCONUS locations, yes, we do have what are called legal attaché units throughout the globe. They're located all over. However, I will tell you that they are kind of like BAU. They are also generally highly desirable. Generally speaking, the employees that are assigned out there are employees that are later in their career, because it's important that you really have just a really good knowledge base on Bureau policy and procedure, and just have they want you to have a wealth of experience before you get sent out to a location like that.
Yeah, and then we talked about the intelligence analysts and the SOSs. Now, if you're in that program, the likelihood of you having the opportunity to work in one of our LEGATs, as we just call it, is probably higher because of the nature of what they do, and especially in the area of which you're looking at, the Middle East. There's always turnover because you do have to
Vance,
total of 5.
we're losing your audio, Vance.
Oh, hold on, let me check the cable here. Give me 1 second, Jim.
Can you hear?
Can you hear us now?
Yes.
Okay, so I don't know how much you heard, so I'll start back over. If you were interested in the Intel program, where they have the intelligence analysts and the staff operations specialists, they have more fluent opportunity to go over to the LEGATs due to the nature of what they do, as well as we do have linguists that support the LEGATs. And usually you can get up to 3 years with a 2-year extension. But what ends up happening when you're interested in going into a LEGAT, the process starts probably 2 years before you even get assigned out there, only because of the different trainings you have to go to. You got to go back to Washington. And then, of course, you got to make sure that you're medically sound to go, because you are leaving the United States. They want to get you checked out and everything of that nature. But definitely Intel, to me, would be the quicker way to get over there. But if not, we all have opportunity to put in. But like Vance said, it is very competitive. And it's usually just one position because of the rotation. So just imagine 50, 60 people wanting to get to one certain location, especially the desired areas like Australia, Paris, all that type of stuff.
That being said, I will caveat that by saying that my predecessor, who supervised the human resources program here in Boston, was actually selected and is still in the midst of serving a 5-year stint at the LEGAT in Rome, which is very highly desirable location. So it definitely can be done. It just requires a little bit of legwork.
Yes.
In terms of positions that offer relocation assistance, so there are spots that will offer a relocation bonus, but they're generally more of our hard to fill positions. Most of our spots are not gonna have a relocation incentive attached with it. That's more of a last ditch effort if we have a position that we really can't fill, and we've got candidates that are across the country.
Now, if you are a leader, I will tell you that special agents, definitely they get relocation assistance. And so doesn't anyone that is in leadership that is a GS 13 and up. That would be the administrative officer position on the professional support side. And then our executive management staff, which is of course the special agent in charge, and then her assistants. And that's the only type of position that is guaranteed right now for relocation assistance. But like Vance said, if it's a hard to fill position, and they really need the person, they will help out.
Type of background, I think we covered that, but yes, it would be so the bulk of the background would be going back 20 years. However, there are going to be questions that come up throughout the background investigation where the wording is going to be ever or in your lifetime. Those questions are generally going to relate to things along the lines of drug usage, criminal record, motor vehicle violations, where they're going to want a more holistic look at your entire life rather than just the last 10 years. But everything else is going to be based on a 10-year window. No. Don't give up on trying to join the FBI. 100%, we fully support common household non-bureau spousal transfers. So if you come on board as a bureau employee here with my team in the Boston field office, and your spouse gets transferred, military spouse gets transferred out to Los Angeles, we have a transfer policy and a transfer process that you can go through to request a
spousal.
Spousal or a common household non-bureau transfer. So essentially, because your significant other is a military is basically considered what we would call a military employee, their transfer will allow for you to get a transfer out to that office. So do not give up on trying to join the bureau. No. If a special agent posting is listed like that, cybersecurity technology background for Seattle, that was an initiative that was taken on by headquarters to try to expand the applicant pool of our special agent cadre. And the idea was that by listing different career fields that we look to recruit special agents from, whether it be cybersecurity or technology or education or anything STEM related, the physical sciences. The idea was just trying to show that basically special agents come from a myriad of backgrounds, and that we were not looking for only, you know, lawyers and accountants and criminal justice majors. So the way that those are worded, it can be a little bit confusing. I completely understand that, but no, it's not a specific posting just for a Seattle vacancy. What type of positions are the support roles? So I feel like we touched on that a little bit, but it's essentially anything from our entry-level positions, which are considered operational support technicians or operations center technicians. Those positions, just for your reference, range from a GS5 up to a GS8 level. Those are our basic entry-level admin centric positions, and the bulk of those folks are working in roles where they're assigned to investigative squads, and they work alongside the agents and the intel cadre, looking into whatever violation that squad is tasked with investigating. Now, the bulk of their work is, as I've said, going to be on that administrative side. It's going to be ensuring that their time and attendance is squared away, that their filing is taken care of, their file reviews are done on time. But they're not limited just to that. They do have the ability to get involved in some casework, and a lot of times they're doing database searches and trying to help out the agents and the intel personnel with really whatever they can. It's really a position that you kind of have to make the most of it, and you come in and the more of a go-getter that you are in that role, the more responsibility you're going to have thrown on you. From there, we have OSTs that promote up. We have positions like our evidence control technicians. Those are our folks that run our evidence room and handle all of the evidence and processing of evidence that comes in from the agents on their investigations. We have electronic surveillance operation technicians, which are our ELSHA techs. They're responsible for anything that's done from a surveillance standpoint, or any evidence that's brought in that's in that digital format would go to them. We have administrative specialists, which are kind of like that next tier up. They're generally assigned to a big picture program, whether that be human resources or facilities, property and inventory, records management. What am I missing for support roles? We have our supervisor roles. We have entry level roles like our OSS, our office services supervisor, where they're like a frontline supervisor. Then you have the supervisory admin specialist, and then there are a litany of specialty support roles, anything from IT specialist, electronics technician, a security specialist, a paralegal specialist, media. We have multimedia specialists. We have public affairs specialists, photographers. Yep.
Victim specialist.
The victim specialist is a good one. Yep. I'm telling you, it's the career path options are really endless. I think what you'll find talking to people that work for the Bureau is a lot of folks come in with a very predefined idea of what it is that their career is going to look like when they join the Bureau. And then once they get in the door and they're exposed to the multitude of different career paths that are actually available, a lot of times their reality it becomes far different from what their expectation was.
And a lot of them too have the opportunity we do have university reimbursement to go back to school. Of course, you have to bid for it, but once they figure out what they want to do and they don't have that background, they'll go back to college to gain that knowledge in order to compete for the position. There was a position right there. Nicole, there's a question that says, does VA disability affect any of the application process for the special agent position? But not sure you could talk to that, but can you just talk about the VA disability?
Sure. So I'm also a disabled combat veteran myself. That didn't have any issues, but I'm in a support role, so I'm not sure as far as the agent. And I believe there was a follow-on question about PTSD. We do have military or veterans that have suffered from all these different type of medical conditions. But as far as does it affect your job? I mean, I don't think it does, but I don't know for the agent side. On the support side, it does not, that I know of.
And from an agent standpoint, the only way that it would be an issue is if it was something that impacted your ability to do the special agent job, right? There are certain physical requirements from a fitness level and an ability level, you know, that those folks have to be able to do their day-to-day job. So that would be the only hang up there.
Yes, you get to talk to your children while you're at training.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah, we don't kidnap you for X amount of weeks, and you know you don't get to see your family or say anything, because again, we're very family oriented in the FBI, and definitely I think there's a time where family can go down to Quantico during that period of time that they are down there, and then definitely they go back down for like graduation time. So yes, they definitely can have time to talk to their families.
100%. And then in terms of finance careers, that's a great question. So we do have a lot of folks with finance backgrounds that go the special agent route, right? Because some of the things that we're responsible for investigating include, you know, white collar crime, as well as anything
Scams.
Thank you. Yes. Anything from a financial scam standpoint. But we also have an entire squad of forensic accountants that are on staff. You know, and they're really responsible for digging in and being able to kind of follow the money. You know, if you've ever read anything about Hoover, you know that he was big into follow the money, and that's how you're gonna, you know, find the bad guys. So there's definitely options for folks with a financial background. The biggest thing is right off the bat, you have to decide whether you're looking to go, you know, that agent route, or you want to be on the support side of the house. Either way, we'll utilize your skills and experiences and put you in a position to succeed and give you some good experiences here. It just depends on kind of what direction you want to go.
And the FBI is seeing the need to diversify development of its employees, because now opportunities are provided to employees that don't work in certain areas where they can go for 30 days just to go and experience working in another area, just to see if that's a fit for them. So that's a great thing that we're starting to see in the FBI that really wasn't there years ago.
We're also tagging along, I just realized we have a new position that we actually just created and filled. We were the first field office in all of the bureau to have a virtual currency analyst. So as the money aspect with crime moves towards that virtual currency, we've had to kind of adjust and kind of adapt our techniques. So we've been looking at hiring folks that have a virtual currency background. Great question about the application process. So I tell people that from start to finish, so from submitting your application to onboarding, the current rough window is 4 to 6 months, right? That's for your application review, your interview, your selection, and then the background process. However, you know, it is entirely feasible and very much the norm for backgrounds to take, you know, 9 months to a year, and in some cases a little bit longer. It's very hard to give a real great time frame on a background because it's largely dependent on the individual. If you're someone that has moved around the country a lot, had a lot of different jobs, gone to a lot of different universities, those are all things that can potentially extend that background, because unfortunately part of that process is going to be we have to send someone physically to go talk to all of those people. So that can definitely kind of delay and postpone that background.
Yeah, for instance, like myself being in the military, I was deployed overseas to a lot of locations. So from submitting my application to actually getting on board probably was between like 10, 11 months.
And on the flip side, if you're someone who, you know, is a small town homebody and hasn't left that town and has lived in one house their whole life, you know, we have seen backgrounds go through in as few as 3 to 4 months. So it is largely, unfortunately, dependent on the applicant. Interested in cyber ops? Oh yeah, we have a growing need in the bureau for folks with that cyber background. And it can be anything from an investigative standpoint. We have multiple cyber squads here in Boston that have, responsibilities and violations that they're responsible for investigating. But we also use that cybersecurity background on the support side of the house. We're happy to say we just hired our first ISO, our Information Security Systems Officer. So that was someone that has came out of college with a strong cyber background. So it's a very desirable skill. Even if you're not placed necessarily on a cyber squad, there are opportunities to utilize that background, as everything continues to be more tech-based. How long for a new agent to serve in a position? So, yep, it's a 2-year. All new agents have to get through probation, which is a 2-year time period before they can apply for a transfer to move to a different position. On the support side of the house, it is a 1-year time frame. Do you live in VA? Quantico. Yep. So you would be at Quantico for if you opt to go the agent or the intel analyst route. You are stationed at Quantico. You live in the dorms there for the duration of the training. Yes. So it's largely dependent on the position. A lot of the support positions especially are only going to be listed for current FBI personnel, especially the higher level positions, because they're going to require a level of experience that you can only gain from being employed at the Bureau. However, there are always the entry level positions that are going to be posted nationwide, and the issue is that they just don't come up. They're not up quite as often, but they also, every field office has the ability to do direct hire, which is why I tell people that it's so important that you get us a copy of your resume, because we can help to make sure that they get to the appropriate hiring managers that are going to be more relevant for the experience that you have.
You have a hand.
Oh, we have a hand.
Hi, sorry, my chat isn't working, so my bad on that. My question would be, how are you guys doing? Y'all okay?
We're good.
We're surviving.
Okay, that's good. Same here. My question would be, being completely transparent, how would you describe the work-life balance? Who can speak on that?
Work-life balance. It's a new concept, definitely, with the FBI. Not every day seems like it's the balance. But we have a wellness program now. It was developed last year because of the need to make sure that the employees take time for themselves. And we are given 1 hour, 3 hours a week, so 6 hours, because we're paid bi-weekly, so a pay period. And you can do anything you want with that 1 hour. The only thing you can't do is combine it, take it for sick leave or it used for vacation or any of that. But if you want to go out and sit on a bench and read a book, that's your wellness hour. And what we're finding is that employees really need to have an outlet, because the job can get a little stressful. And sometimes it can be overwhelming. And if you add your personal life in there, depending on what might be going on at the time, we just want to make sure that our employees are doing well. And speaking on that, every field office has developed a wellness program. Here in Boston, we have a robust wellness committee, and definitely we've had several events since the wellness program initiated on last year, and it looks like it's going to be very, very successful. And anyone can take advantage of it, the special agent population or the professional support population. So it's not just for one cadre.
In addition to that, speaking just strictly from that work-life balance standpoint, so the standard operating hours for a field office are going to be 8:15 to 5. However, the Bureau is incredibly flexible from a scheduling standpoint for most positions. You know, I will caveat that by saying that at the end of the day, it's always going to be the needs of the Bureau that drive the conversation. But someone such as myself, I have a 6-year-old daughter, and you know, I need 1 day a week where essentially I'm able to pick her up because I don't have an after-school care option for that day. So I was able to work with my supervisor, and I am on a schedule where I work 4 10-hour days to have that 1 day off to be able to balance that work and home life. We have employees that, you know, flex and come in early. People start their day as early as 6 a.m. and they're out by 2:45 for childcare reasons. We have people that go the opposite way and they come in later and they stay later. So the Bureau is definitely in tune with the importance that work-life kind of balance and harmony and how important that is to productivity and morale. So I think that they're definitely trending and looking for opportunities wherever they can to kind of improve upon that and kind of grow with the times.
Thanks. So we're getting close to time, Vance, so I want to be respectful of that for you. It is after hours there. And I guess how about I pick and choose the last question? I saw this one come up. I think it's relevant for many folks, but are there any particular type of things that will disqualify you? Any disqualifiers? Age, ink, you know, tattoos, things like that.
Okay, so right off the bat, that the first caveat I'm going to throw out there is that it is going to be position specific. There is an age requirement on the special agent position. And the slide deck I sent you has a fantastic slide that shows that off on there. It is 37 for most of the general public. However, there is a military exemption to that. And it basically, you have to be able to complete 20 years of service before retirement if you have a military background. For everyone else, though, there is no age requirement. You know, I will tell you that right now in our supply room, we currently have an employee that is 86 years old. 84. 84 years old. Yeah. So there's no age requirement there. In terms of ink tattoos, nope. I've got one right here. So you know we're very pro ink. No issues there at all. I say Nicole's got one. Yep. The biggest disqualifiers that we encounter, right, are you know, it's straightforward with you guys. The biggest thing that we hit is it's drug utilization. You know, unfortunately, I'll set marijuana aside for a second. Anything not marijuana, any of the hard drugs, to include prescription drugs, it is a 10-year window. If you've used, misused, sold, produced, manufactured, trafficked, anything. Any of those, you know, if any of that applies to you and with relation to a hard drug or a prescription drug in the last 10 years, you're going to be ineligible to apply. Marijuana is going to be 1 year from the marijuana, CBD, anything that falls into anything THC, anything that falls into that realm, gummies, yeah, that's going to be 1 year from date of application. So basically, we tell people don't hit the button to apply until you're clear of 1 year. The only caveat to that is that, like everything here, they do take a holistic approach when looking at your background. So if you are clear for, you know, if you've been clear of utilization of cannabis or marijuana for a year, but prior to that, you were using, you know, multiple times a day for 4 or 5 years before that, that's going to be problematic. However, if your recreational usage or experimental usage and you've been clear for a year, then there's not going to be an issue there. The biggest thing with that is that you just want to make sure that when you begin the application process, and specifically the background process, that you are as forthright and have as much candor as you can with that, because the applicant processing folks that you deal with are going to be able to give you a real straight answer as to, you know, how best for you to proceed. It's the one thing that unfortunately even with it being legalized in many states across the country, it's not legal on a federal level, and it's definitely the biggest hurdle that we face.
And just to go back to about age, we do not discriminate in the FBI. Matter of fact, we have a very awesome diversity and inclusion, equity and inclusion program. And we hire people at all ages. As you heard, we do have an employee that's 84, and he actually came on at 56 at the time of his employment. So that just goes to show 30 years later, here he is still successful with the FBI. So no, we do not have any discrimination, and that is the professional support side. Now, as you heard, the agent side, they have to come in no later than 57, and exempt is other federal transferring. However, because they have to be able to retire at 57. So that gives them that 20-year window. But other than that, on the professional side, you can come in and stay forever. There was no retirement. Right?
You might want to retire at some point. I'm not really sure, but somebody might want to be pulling.
We have a handful that just love it so much they don't ever want to go.
Well, that's good. That's great to hear. But listen, I want to thank you both for coming on out tonight and sharing all this wonderful information. Nicole, thanks for coming in and jumping on in. I want to thank everybody here, our military spouses, our veterans, and the active duty. Thank you all for your service and your continued sacrifices. And Vance, I have one quick question for you. I forgot to send it in an email today. I've got something coming up 29th of May, similar to what we did last year with the .gov. So it'll be 4 to 5 p.m. That day. So we'll get you penciled in there.
We'll be on there. Not a problem. And then just one last thing. First off, obviously, thank you all for attending. We really, really appreciate it. It's great to be able to get to speak to you all. And prefer to do it in person, but we'll take virtual as the next best thing. The one thing I wanted to leave with though, Boston HR at FBI.gov. And I'll throw it in the chat box just so everyone can see it. If you've got a resume for me to review, you've got questions that you didn't have a chance to ask, or you didn't want to ask in front of a group. If you have questions about potential jobs, anything you've got, please reach out. Alan, if you live in Virginia, it's going to be Richmond. If you have questions though and you want to send them to me, or you want to send me a resume, I'm happy to go on and forward that on for you. But please feel free. Myself and my team, we monitor that box, 24/7. So if you've got stuff, kick it over to us, and we'll be happy to take a look at it and try to make sure that it gets to the right folks.
And a lot of times what Vance will do, he'll send it to me so that I can send it to the counterpart, the actual administrative officer of that field office, who will then make sure that their HR people address it in a timely manner.
Also, folks, on regards to resumes, hey, Nicole, thank you very much for putting that in there. But as far as for resumes, we know you probably have some resumes, you've worked on them. Send them on over to us at the career team here, so we can give them a once over for you. We don't want to bombard folks with resumes that really need some additions and things like that. So reach out to us, reach out to me directly. Your career advisors will get you connected with somebody on the team that can assist you with that. And again, thanks for sticking around for an extra few minutes. Really appreciate it. And everybody have a wonderful evening. Thanks again.
Thank you, Nicole. Appreciate you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Thank you all.
All right.
Thank you.